That if there's an injustice, if there is something wrong, then the only people we can rely upon are ourselves, the people who are opposed to it. Not to just worry about who we're going to elect. I'm not saying for one moment that isn't important, but that we have to ourselves stand up and make such an almighty fuss about this. That we have to support those people who are making an almighty fuss about it. That we have to support all of those organisations and campaigns that are genuinely fighting against this injustice and this terrible inequality that grows wider and wider. And it seems to me that idea that has not been lost but that has withered is now coming back. I think this meeting is one expression of that. I think the People's Assembly and the response to it is certainly an expression of that. That there are huge numbers of people who are feeling now that there is something that we can go along to, that we can take part in. We will disagree with many of the people who with the answers that they have, but the most important thing is that we will stick together on the main issue, which is that the injustice and the inequality that is being chucked at us by this dreadful, appalling bunch of Etonian pigs at the top of society is something that we can get rid of if we all stand up together. And I think the brilliant thing about the idea of the People's Assembly. You can be in any party within reason. You could be in, if Nigel Farage turned up, we might tell him we're a bit full, but it's unlikely. You can be in any party within reason. You can be in the Green Party, but you don't have to be in the Green Party. You can be in the Labour Party, you don't have to be in the Labour Party. The most important thing is, are you opposed to this injustice and inequality that is being thrown at us? And if we all stick together, then what was true remains true, that there's very, very little that they can do. They want us to be cynical. They want us to believe that we are simply ordinary in the way that they mean. That means that there isn't anything we can do, we can only sit at home and scream about it. And yet that clearly is not the case. And I think when you look at the arguments, for example, I'll just finish on this. The arguments about gay marriage, there is one wonderful, brilliant thing about that. It is said generally by all the people who know about politics that you can't hope to get anywhere unless you are in the mainstream, unless you are in the centre. And maybe that's true, but what that forgets is that what is in the centre changes. 20 years ago, if you supported gay marriage, you could have been labelled an extremist. Now if you oppose it, then you appear, even according to the party that is trying to get it through, as a swivel-eyed loon. Now you are an extreme. We have changed it. That hasn't happened by accident. It's happened because reasonable people who are not just about me and bigotry and prejudice and supporting injustice and equality, reasonable people have not just opposed it in front of their television, but they've stood up and fought, and sometimes in very heroic circumstances, and they have forced the agenda away from what is unreasonable to what is reasonable. And one day, I believe, if we all stand up and we all do what we can do, we all do what Maria does, and what all do we do in our tiny ways, in the tiniest way, collect £1 somewhere, just have an argument with someone somewhere about the lies in the Daily Mail. Every little thing we do goes towards changing the mainstream, so that there will be a day, not too far in the future, I believe, when it is utterly mainstream to be reasonable and utterly extremist to be unreasonable, which, to put it another way, is to say that our ideas will prevail and their ideas will look like the prehistoric bits of rancid filth that they are.